So we spend at least 12 years in school preparing for a career. How much time do we spend preparing for a relationship? Any relationship. My name's Michael Jascz, and I'm a relationship coach. About 7 years ago, I was working with an administrator in a high school in Chelsea. And he had come out of a very difficult relationship that he described in one word: torturous. Does anyone know anyone that's been in a torturous relationship? I'm going to do that again. Does anyone know, since we're filming, does anyone know anyone who's been in a torturous relationship? Has anybody in this room been in one? And have we stayed because we thought it would get better? So it's kind of sad, but I hope by the end of the day you'll have a different viewpoint on relationships and see that they don't have to be so difficult. 100 years ago, the life expectancy was 47. Now we live to 80, 90. Who wrote a book on how to cultivate and sustain relationships that would last 50, 60, 70 years? Nobody knew. Well, we have the book that can help you get through the next 50 to 60 years. I hope by the end of the day you'll have a different viewpoint on relationships and see that they don't have to be so difficult. How many of you know at least 20 people? 50, 100, right? Do you have a different relationship with all of them? Friends, family, parents, boyfriends, girlfriends? But if I ask you, are you in a relationship, do you look at me and say, what kind of question is that? I know 100 people. The word relationship has come to mean boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, right? So all this emphasis is on significant other relationships. But we have relationships with everyone. And for many of us, myself included, I have wondered how I can have better relationships with people because I've struggled. Has anyone not struggled with certain relationships? Right, we all have. Okay. Now, if you want to get good at a sport, what do? You want to get good at music, what do? You want to get good at a language. You want to get good at a relationship. Silence. Oh, right. Who ever heard of practicing a relationship? Well, today we're going to do a little bit of relationship practicing. Now, I teach a program called Healthy Relationships 101 in high schools and in colleges in the New York area. And I also have been teaching in other states, Georgia, Florida, Washington State, and New Jersey. And in its essence, what this program is, it's about awareness. So if you have more awareness, you have greater understanding. Greater understanding, more clarity. We all want to understand what's going on, especially in relationships. So what we look at is, most importantly, which I'll talk about today to some extent, is effective communication. The word effective. How can we have more effective communication to achieve the results we want in how we relate to other people? Effective communication, bully prevention, the effect of the media, self-confidence and body image, something I call the Wild West of texting. What happened was I was working with a teacher, an administrator from a school in Chelsea, and as I said, he had described his 18-year relationship as torturous. And as we worked together, he began to change his mind about never wanting to be in a relationship again and never wanting to have anything to do with women. And there came a day about 7.5 years ago, and he asked me if I would give a presentation to some boys in the high school. They were junior boys, and I came in December of '07. And I sat down and I started to talk about relationship dynamics. I could see these boys were kind of restless, and they didn't seem like they were paying attention. And the only way I can describe this is that I found myself standing up. I was sitting in front of them. I stood up and I said, "Listen up," like a drill sergeant. And then I don't remember anything else I said. But later that day, the administrator that brought me in sent an email to the principal saying he had not seen a group of boys transformed in 42 minutes in his 10 years in the school. And would I teach relationship ed as a component ed? And I said yes, because I couldn't find the no. And thus began the most difficult 7 years of my life, because I was building and developing a curriculum on healthy relationships, and I myself was still learning how to have relationships that were fulfilling and satisfying, because most of us carry baggage. And some of us have a longer stretch of lifetime that we carry this baggage. Teenagers don't. Ideally, they don't. We live in a world of conflict. I want to show you this world of conflict. This is a world that I've grown up in. Does everyone recognize a lot of these things? Judgment, blame, shame, should, shouldn't. Do you like when people tell you what you should do? Did you ask for advice, like empathy? Or do people, well, you should do this, you should take that class. You shouldn't eat that food. So we don't really like to hear the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. We say, well, I'm wondering if you'd like some feedback. I have some thoughts about diet. I have some thoughts about things that you might be interested with school. So should, shouldn't, blame, shame, right, wrong. This is the world that most of us live in. Has anybody turned on the news today or yesterday? Do you hear these sort of things? No? Yes, okay. So we don't enjoy living in this world. All you have to say when somebody, your friend, family member, coworker says, the weather's so bad. I mean, I never talk about weather. I slipped and my ankle hurts. Maybe your ankle hurts. But if all you have to say is, I hear you. I hear you. And sometimes just saying, wow, but you almost say it like from your chest, like when you're talking to a child, wow, that you, if someone's, you have a long conversation with someone on the phone and they're going on and on about what's been very difficult for them, and you say, wow, oh, I hear you. They won't even notice it. What they will notice is being received. Do we all want to be received? Do any of us remember growing up and saying something when we were very little to, let's say, our parent or a guardian, and we didn't get heard? And that hurts. And that's carried through a lifetime. It's so simple. You don't need 147 pages on the neuroscience of empathy to say, I hear you. And in the cases where something serious may have gone on, you could say, I really don't know what to say. I'm just so glad you told me. And when somebody hears that, they're very touched. I have found that to be the case. So that's empathy.